Okay. Hello and welcome to our second Pom Pom Q&A. And today we have Gabby from Mothering Minds on, and we'll be talking about building the village. So this is quite a hot topic, and it's something that we talk about quite a lot. And I feel like we kind of talk about it at this very high level, and we don't really get into grips of what you can actually do to build a village, and yeah, what a village might consist of as well. It's all very high level. So hopefully we're going to get into a little bit more depth today. But before we do that, let's introduce Gabby. So Gabby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Gabby. I am part of the founding team at Mothering Minds. So we're the UK's first network specialising in perinatal therapy, which is on demand with no wait lists. And then we also have some free resources as well to make therapy more accessible for everyone. It's our goal to make every mum feel supported and held through that, I don't want to say difficult, but challenging time of becoming a parent, and how transformative that is. We need all the support we can get, don't we? So that's our goal.
Absolutely. And I think that that's such a useful resource, because when you're in that state, when you're in the middle of all of everything and there's just chaos going on in your life, the last thing you want to be doing is trying to research who to talk to about these things. So having like a central location is really fantastic. So I will introduce myself. So I'm Eleanor. I run Pom Pom Perinatal, which is pregnancy and postnatal yoga, and I also run the Facebook group, which I always get the name wrong, Pregnant and New Mums Wellbeing Space Huntingdonshire. So obviously I'm very community focused, and we've been starting doing some meetups as well. Okay, so we'll start with our first question. So starting off at a very high level, what does building the village mean? You happy
Yeah, I
to?
like how you put it, that we sort of use the phrase, don't we? Oh, it takes a village. And then we're getting into the meaning of that. So we mean creating a network of care, don't we? That people who understand us, people and places actually that support us as a mum, not only with practical things, but that might be emotional support as well. And that will differ for every woman. Um, so it might be that it takes us a while to actually think, well, what do I want out of my village? But
Mm,
yeah, it's really about surrounding ourselves with people who get us and get it, who can listen without judgment, might be helping with small things like a cup of tea or a meal, or just listening to us really. And that can be as big or as small as we like. Yeah.
absolutely. And I think to add on to that, um, if you find that the village terminology, because there's a lot of very kind of, I want to say flowery language
Yeah.
used with village, and there's a lot of very kind of blue sky thinking of, oh, things used to be like this and we don't have
Mm.
that anymore. And it's all quite kind of, if you find that useful information and useful way of framing things, then that is wonderful. For me personally, I found that all very kind of negative, and
Yeah.
it kind of diminished other women's like historical experiences. So for me, what works better is this idea of like this support network, like you're talking about, Gabby. And I just kind of wanted to put that out there. So if you come across this whole building a village thing, and it's all just felt really, really negative and really like, oh, things used to be nice
Yeah.
and now they're not. I think that thinking of it more like creating a supportive network or tribe or whichever word works best for you, um,
Mhm.
yeah, that support is needed. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be in this village format.
Yeah. I definitely agree that um we can flip that and turn it into a positive thing, can't we? It might have been that our experience, had we lived 50 years ago, was that our village didn't click with us. But there was no choice. It was just the road you lived in, plus maybe your relatives. But the beauty of the internet is that we can pick and choose. We can find what resonates for us, whether that's on Facebook or other online services, and then we can add bits in that are in person as well. There's lovely little things at libraries, aren't there, and playgroups or community hubs, and then we can make it our own. So what could be framed negatively, no, actually, it puts the power in our hands that we can create it for ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think as well, kind of, if you are feeling, oh, I wish I had this village, I wish I had all of this support around me, like that's absolutely valid. But also, like you're saying, you can't, in a real village, I've lived in a village in my childhood, and you can't choose the people around you. And like you can't choose your family. And if you were, so part of the reason why a lot of us feel like we don't have a village is because of things like bad relationships with relatives and differences of opinion of things like child rearing. Because for instance, for like the whole of human history until like maybe 20 or 30 years ago, it was absolutely natural and normal to hit your child if they did something wrong. And you don't want somebody with that viewpoint in your life, or I certainly don't. You don't want them looking after your child. So yeah, you do kind of, as much as there is all of this kind of rhetoric and storytelling around the village, I think just like taking it with a pinch of salt and finding out kind of what works for you. For sure.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right, I feel like we've gone off on a bit of a tangent.
Oh yeah, I do that. Sorry.
I think it's all good. It's creating rich content.
Connected, isn't it?
Absolutely. So our next question is, where can I find villagers? So where can I find people who are going to support me?
So I wish I had thought about this when I was a new mum. Actually, my children are quite a bit older now, and I only considered the in-person. So I went to the baby groups, and those are lovely. You pick and choose which one. I went to a brilliant exercise one called Sweaty Mummers, which is a hilarious name, but you could like have the baby in the carrier and do your workout. That was lovely. But online can be such a useful add-on to that. So for example, with the Huntingdonshire support group, it's lovely to have that there sort of in the background, and when you post lovely uplifting things, then it's a nice boost, isn't it? I was scrolling through Facebook and there's a load of quite negative content on Facebook, but then a little ray of sunshine comes in from somebody who gets it, and it is telling the new mums in a positive but not toxically positive way. We see you and we feel how you're feeling, not in a kind of you've got this. So those support groups are essential, I find. Can be local libraries, like I said, community hubs, and that's something we're trying to build a bit at Mothering Minds, with our free peer support groups, which were actually the one in September being totally honest, didn't get the numbers we wanted to be able to run. So we're hoping to start to get as much information as possible from mums about when would be a helpful time to have those sort of free peer support groups. Would it be in the evenings? But we want that to be there for a community that women can tap into if they're not finding the in-person groups quite click with them in their locality, or as an add-on. I'd love to meet like-minded mums and just have a chat about how I'm feeling. So yeah.
It is so hard when you've got a tiny weeny baby and you're trying to get out the house or into anything that is scheduled. It's definitely something that I found when I've been teaching postnatal yoga. It is just, I've had some some horror stories for me personally. It feels like such a horror story where when people sign up to my classes and then they can't attend for no reason, like no fault of their own. And it's just horrible because you really want to be there and supporting them. And I don't mean like I'm not there like, oh no, they didn't come. More just like I feel so bad for them.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah.
But that is kind of a part of that that period of life, and that is why having this large range, like you're saying, of things that are online, things that are in person, so that if I'm going to swear, shit hits the fan, if that happens on any given day, then you can at least you have an opposite. You have another opportunity to get involved with something and someone. We've had a question. I'm just going to finish what I'm saying, and then I will answer this, or then I will ask the question. So the other thing that I wanted to say was that I read something that was quite interesting that was talking about different people within the village. So it doesn't always have to be someone that will do absolutely everything, someone that will come around and look after the baby and do the cleaning or whatever. It doesn't have to be that person that is super involved. Obviously that is wonderful, and that is definitely something that we want. But things like the services that you're offering, Gabby, where you have people that can listen to you, that's a part of support. Where you have even just I read this thing saying, you know, you can even build your village with just sort of check out people who you see regularly, like just talking with them and having a nice conversation, and just a small part of your day where you can just kind of step back and not have to think about the next feed or the next nappy change.
That's so true.
So, you know, obviously you want the stuff that is more intense and more like helpful, but for those of us, or those of you who don't have so much family around, don't have so many close friends around, maybe it's a case of we sort of say, okay, this part of the support network is suffering, maybe I can build it up in other parts. Maybe I can just get to know my community better and just have these conversations that don't really kind of matter in a sense, but give you that connection with the rest of the world, and help you feel less lonely.
That's so true. There's still like ladies at the library or the bank who remember me coming in there with a newborn and ask after my kids. So that is a lovely part of it.
Okay, so the question that we've just had come through: are the Mothering Mind peer support groups only for postnatal?
They are currently, yes. So that is something we'd like to expand in the future. So if on our website at the moment it still links to the old one, we'll get that up so that there's a link to register interest, and we'd love as much feedback from expecting mums and new mums as possible. So if we got a few requests for an antenatal version of that, we would definitely consider running one of those as well, because I think it says on our website, we're here for the improvers as well as if you're struggling. It's brilliant to get mental health support before you have the baby, because then you've got part of that village buoying you up, which will be there in place for, you know, is it harder to ask for help once you're already sleep deprived or in the trenches of cluster feeding? So we'd absolutely consider expanding that. Yeah,
absolutely. Something that I found with the yoga, not only that I do, the yoga that I was an attendee of when I was pregnant, and I went to pregnancy yoga. We had a WhatsApp group, and that was the place where I made my closest friends in that period, because you went through the full journey together, and like you say, you weren't trying to make friends after the event. And I don't know about you, Gabby, but I've definitely found that when I had my baby was hard work, and he still is. He's just he's a go-getter, my son, and it meant that like he would always be crawling on. He started moving at 4.5 months.
Wow.
He is just insane, my child, and it just meant it was so hard in those groups where everyone else could sit down with their babies and have a chat, and I was just like going around the room like investigating the fire extinguisher, etc. with my son. Whereas with the mums that I already knew, like we'd already built up that connection. I wasn't having to try and remember everybody's names and everybody's baby's names all at the same time as trying to look after my son. So definitely, if you are pregnant and watching this, it's a fantastic idea to get some friends that are currently going through what you're going through, or find these people.
Yeah, okay, definitely.
Let's move on because I'm conscious of time. So this was a really a question that a lot of people were very interested in. Any tips for people who are socially anxious or shy?
Yeah, that's such an important question, because I think not everyone, I think it's quite rare that someone would just find it easy to walk up to a group and start a conversation. So I suppose our biggest tip would be to start small with those little, everything improves with practice, doesn't it? So like you said about checkout ladies, having little conversations and building from there can really help. Joining an online group is helpful because of that. You know, some of them you can even keep your camera off for a bit if you're feeling really shy. Commenting on someone's post on Facebook, even you can quite easily make friends that way. And those tiny connections can form part of a wider network, and that can help us feel more confident. I was definitely in that group myself when I was a new mum. I had no idea what I was doing. I was only 25. And I was looking at these other ladies thinking, oh, they've completely got it together. And I think it was when, it's a great icebreaker having little ones, isn't it? When the babies do that thing where they sort of stare at each other, like two aliens recognizing each other. And then you start chatting to their baby. Oh, hello, that's kind of, and then you've broken the ice by talking to their child through your child, and then you can make great friends that way. So yeah.
No, that's great.
Use the child as a shield.
That's a really good tip. I also like using my child when I don't want to talk to somebody else. Like, oh, my child is just so busy. I'm so sorry. Bye.
Oh, did you need mummy? And
yeah.
Child,
no. Oh, he's got to go for his nap now. Bye.
Yeah, it's a good one.
You've got escape routes.
Definitely.
I definitely struggled with the socially anxious thing. And I think particularly if you go through some extra challenges through this time. So we had a bereavement very shortly after my son was born. And that just it put this shadow on everything. And it made it very difficult to talk about my experiences with other women, because it felt like they just weren't going through the same things that we were going through. So if you feel like that, I completely understand, and it is hard. Like, I know a lot of women who have things like their baby's been premature and they've been in the hospital more than all of their peers, and they just struggle to make those connections because of those differences in experiences. So I just first I wanted to say, I see you, and I appreciate how difficult that situation is. The other thing I would say is that I'm coming to realize for myself, because I'm not very good at making friends, I'm coming to realize that a lot of it is a bit of a numbers game as well. And sometimes it is just a case of just trying to make lots of conversations with lots of different people, and just being, I don't want to say ruthless, but very kind of black and white in your own head. Do I want to continue putting energy into this specific relationship, or do I feel like I'm not clicking well enough with this person to do that? Because your energy is so low, right? And you have to just, and particularly if you're socially anxious anyway, this is going to be hard stuff for you. So like really trying to figure out what is going to work best for you, you know, who is going to work best for you, and trying to get that information as quickly as you can. One thing I would say is with the meetups that I've started running that are free, instant NEETs at the moment, I am hoping to expand, but I'm currently moving house. So I'm just like one project at a time. I'm covered in paint.
I did wonder. I thought you might have been doing finger painting with your little one.
No, I literally, I ran home, just like making my hair look nice, putting makeup on and changing my top and getting going. But so once that project's out of the way, we'll look at starting another meetup, Instant Ives, I think. But what I'm doing with these meetups is that they are facilitated. So we have conversation starters, so that we have things to talk about that aren't just the same old, what's the weather doing? What's your baby doing? It does get very repetitive, or I found it got very repetitive and difficult to get under the surface and actually getting to know people very well. So, and particularly when you've got the baby, it's just difficult to focus enough to actually come up with interesting things to talk about yourself. I found that. I'm just talking from my own experience here. So what I've been doing with these meetups is I come with some conversation starters, and basically I've been putting people in pairs, or people have kind of arranged themselves in pairs so far. And if the conversation begins to slow, then I've got a conversation starter. And it'd be things about your overall life. So like what you do for a career, what your goals are for yourself, rather than just as a mum, just as a baby, just trying to get you talking more about yourself rather than just about what's going on in that day-to-day life.
And that can help with the feeling of not losing yourself, you know, because it can be quite lonely, can't it? If you're on your own with a little one most of the day, no one is asking you these questions. And you don't get to have an adult conversation maybe until your partner gets home, or if you're a single mum, then you have to go out and find these conversations for yourself. So that's lovely. And that's the format that we're having with the peer support groups as well. They're therapy informed, but that's mainly a conversation starter, and the moderator will be there to pitch in, but kind of free flowing, whatever the mums want to talk about.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. We'll move on to our next question. So what if getting out of the house is hard for me and or my baby?
Yeah, I would it's some days and weeks it isn't an if, is it? You know, we go through those patches. You might have a baby with higher needs, you know. My sister-in-law really struggled with this because my nephew had really bad reflux, and so he was very often uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable at home was bad enough, but out in a cafe or a soft play or whatever, it was just not, he wasn't happy. So that's where these online spaces are so important. You know, if it's somewhere where you an online group on Facebook or a WhatsApp chat, or virtual therapy sessions, or another product that we have in development, which is almost ready for our first round of testing, is a new app which is called Namo. This is basically the premise is transforming the goodwill of our friends and family and those we might meet that we incorporate into our village, in transforming that goodwill into practical help. So the app would do things like send an alert. Gabby is feeling a bit low this week. Could you pop in and check on her? Or help with a meal or pop round with a Starbucks. And the automated nature of that will mean then the new mum isn't having to ask for the help herself, which is really hard. And that can
Mm,
be especially helpful if we're stuck inside day after day and feeling lonely. Bringing the village to the mum rather than it having to all be on her.
that's such
Yeah.
a good idea. I
Mm.
think like
So,
what you're saying
sorry.
about it being really hard to ask for help at the time that you need it is so true. Just like that goes right to the core for me, because
Yeah.
that's like my number one thing I'm terrible at. It took me a very long time to ask for help when I needed it,
Mm.
and I think we kind of, it's hard to know, isn't it, when at what point you kind of should ask for help, at what point what you're experiencing is kind of hard enough, because you
Yeah,
kind of feel like
definitely.
it's hard anyway. Like, is this the hardness that everybody else is experiencing, or is this a sort of hard that I should be
Yeah.
addressing?
And
It's
even if
yeah,
it is the hardness that everybody else is experiencing, why do we then convince ourselves that that would mean we couldn't ask for help? Like,
yeah,
oh, and we're thinking all these women before were fine. Well,
yeah, yeah.
maybe they weren't,
Mm,
and they just didn't know how to ask for help. So we want to kind of obliterate those myths that you have to
mm,
be struggling at a certain level to even ask for help. But it is hard. And I don't
100%.
know if we're culturally even very good at thinking, am I okay? You know,
Mm,
when you stopping and thinking, I'm doing these things, I am taking care of my baby, but how am I actually feeling?
mm.
And that it's fine, however we're feeling, to ask for more support or make
Yep,
new connections. It's always
yeah,
fine.
absolutely. And also, like, I feel like um, there's kind of, and I think a part of this is cultural, and just kind of the what is in fashion culturally. I don't know,
Mm.
but this whole kind of putting your baby first thing. It's interesting when we think of villages. I've sort of been reading lots of different stories around this, and
Mm.
in the past, uh, some I sort of two generations, I'm not sure, like in the 40s or 50s, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Women were, when they gave birth, they stayed in the hospital for like a week.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and you're like, oh wow, that woman was so looked after in that period of time. But then their baby
Mm.
was put into another room, and
Yeah.
in the 50s they advised women to smoke during pregnancy so that the baby would be smaller and easier to
Oh,
deliver,
man.
which is insane, right? So back then there was kind of this focus more on the women, but at the expense of the baby. And now it feels a bit like it's the other way around, where there's
Flip.
this big
Yeah.
focus on the baby, and like after you've given birth, the care that you get tends to be focused on the baby. And if the baby's
Mm.
doing well, if the baby's feeding well, and their weight's growing at the right rate, and all of that kind of stuff, which is obviously very important.
Yeah.
But then it's things like women aren't checked for diastasis, just on the physical level. They're not checked for diastasis. They're not checked for pelvic floor dysfunction.
Mm.
I went through this big bereavement right at the start, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you might get postnatal depression. We'll put that down as a maybe." And then nobody followed that up,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
it was
dear.
like, oh, obvious when you look back
Yeah.
at all of the information.
What
It's
were
like,
they
well,
expecting you to do? You keep an eye out for it.
yeah, I don't know exactly. And it's just, and this is the thing, this is kind of what I mean, is that we then feel like we should be putting the baby before ourselves, because
Mm.
that's what kind of everything around is kind of telling us.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, can I look after, am I allowed to look after myself? Like,
Yeah.
and we really need to change that. Anyway, I'm very conscious
Really.
of the time. So we're coming up to our
Oh, we
half
could talk for hours about all this stuff, couldn't we?
We could. I do have to paint some more skirting board though. Fun as
Yeah.
it is.
I feel your pain. I moved house a couple of months ago, and it
Mm,
seemed to make the whole summer about moving house. And now
yeah.
we're just about settled, but it takes a while, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. Anyway, before we wrap up, Gabby, could you just rattle off what it is Mothering Minds can offer once more, just as a parting introduction,
Yes, so
opposite of an introduction.
we'd love for new mums and expectant mums to follow us on our socials. You can find them on our Facebook page. But so what we offer on our socials is connection, a bit of a laugh sometimes. So my colleague Vivian does Meme Mondays, which I love, all these hilarious mothering memes that, and some therapy informed content as well, just helping mums to feel seen and heard throughout this transformative time. We also have our main offering is on-demand talk therapy with no waiting lists, and women can be matched with a therapist that who are all our therapists are mothers themselves, so they really get what new mums are going through. They've been through it themselves, and can really offer that tailored support. And we've also got, well, hopefully up and running again soon with as much feedback as possible, our free peer support groups, and they'll be running weekly once we get that back up and running. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So I'm Eleanor. I obviously do pregnancy and postnatal yoga. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube at Pom Pom Perinatal. And also I run the Facebook group, which I will remember the name of, Pregnant and New Mums Wellbeing Space, Huntingdonshire. So please do join that if you're not already on it, so that you can get updates about this kind of event as well as our in-person events. These are free. The only thing I'm charging for is the yoga at the moment. And if you're watching this, then that's great. You can catch up with this if you want to watch it again. I'll be posting this on YouTube, so watch out for that as well. Okay.
Thank you, Eleanor. It's lovely to chat to you.
Thank you as well. And I hope you have a really wonderful rest of the day. And I hope that's been useful for those of you watching as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.